Donnie Vanzant is often remembered as the co-founder and frontman of .38 Special, a southern rock band that achieved major commercial success in the 1980s. But his story goes far beyond chart-topping hits and arena tours. What many fans never knew is how deep his role was in shaping not just a band, but a movement. And the decisions he made, especially when he walked away from it all, tell a story that is far more complex than most realize. Born into the legendary Vanzant family in Jacksonville, Florida, Donnie was raised in a house where music was both a tradition and an expectation. His older brother, Donnie Vanzant, was the original lead vocalist for Lynyrd Skynyrd. His younger brother, Johnny, would eventually take over that role. Donnie, however, took a different path. Rather than follow directly in Ronnie's footsteps, he formed .38 Special in 1974 with childhood friend Don Barnes. What started as another southern rock band evolved into something bigger, a crossover act that blended rock, pop, and southern edge into a sound that brought the band mainstream appeal. Hits like Hold On Loosely, Caught Up in You, and If I'd Been the One made .38 Special a staple on rock radio throughout the 80s. Donnie was not the band's primary lead vocalist on every song, but he was its face and its driving force. What most people never saw was the internal pressure he was under, not just to succeed commercially, but to establish an identity separate from his brother Ronnie's massive legacy. Donnie never publicly discussed this struggle, but insiders have described how the Vanzant name was both a blessing and a burden. While it opened doors, it also came with constant comparison and expectation. Even as .38 Special gained fame, Donnie remained quiet about personal matters. He rarely gave in-depth interviews. He avoided media speculation. And behind the scenes, he dealt with health issues that would eventually end his music career. By the early 2010s, Donnie began to withdraw from public appearances, and in 2013, it was confirmed that he had left the band entirely. The official explanation was inner ear problems that affected his balance, making it impossible for him to perform on stage. But that wasn't the whole story. Donnie's departure wasn't just about health. It was also about exhaustion, both physical and mental. After nearly 40 years of touring, recording, and carrying the Vanzant name, he made a decision that very few rock legends have ever made: to step away completely and permanently. He didn't launch a solo career. He didn't pursue acting or endorsements. He didn't write a memoir or do a farewell tour. He disappeared from the spotlight without warning and without explanation. What's even more shocking is how complete his exit was. Donnie vanished from the public eye. No social media, no interviews, no appearances. He turned down offers for reunion projects, stayed out of documentaries, and refused to engage with a nostalgic rock circuit that so many of his peers rely on for relevance. Donnie Vanzant, a man who helped define a genre, effectively erased himself from it. Fans continued to speculate about a return, but none came. Meanwhile, his younger brother Johnny carried on with Lynyrd Skynyrd, and .38 Special continued touring without him. Donnie's silence became louder than any album he ever recorded. There's another part of the story few know. Donnie and Johnny collaborated as the duo Vanzant in the early 2000s, producing country rock albums that charted successfully. Tracks like Help Somebody and Nobody Gonna Tell Me What to Do showed Donnie adapting to a new audience. But even that resurgence didn't pull him back into the industry for long. By 2007, that project ended quietly, with no announcement. Unlike most artists who spend their entire lives chasing attention, Donnie walked away just as quietly as he came in. There was no scandal, no breakdown, no feud, just a sudden stop. For fans who grew up with .38 Special or followed Southern rock closely, the lack of answers was unsettling. Donnie Vanzant's story is not about a fall from grace. It's not about failure. It's about choice, a deliberate rejection of fame, of legacy pressure, of the need to stay visible. And that choice, made by someone so embedded in rock history, is what truly sets his story apart. Most people don't know what happened to him after he left the stage. But those who do understand that Donnie Vanzant didn't fade away. He chose to disappear. That decision, in an industry built on staying relevant, is more shocking than anything you ever knew about him.